Hi guys, in this lecture we're going to be looking at sports marketing and it's broken up into two parts as we've a good bit of content to cover. So just an overview of what we're going to look at. We'll cover branding and the effect that branding has on people. We will look at sponsorship and different types of sponsorship, and we will also look at the psychology of sports fans and how they differ from different consumers. Branding is really about what a customer thinks and feels when they see the marks of a particular brand. In sport, this includes experiences and emotions as well as a tangible product. So it's a bit different from looking at clothing brands or brands of cars because people can have an emotional attachment to the sporting organization. So the next page, I have a few different branding logos, two from sports apparel and two from sporting organizations. So just have a think to yourselves, what does it make you feel when you see these logos? Here are the four logos. We have Puma, Adidas, and then we have the IRFU and the FAI, so Ireland. So how you feel about these brands can be different. So you have your sports apparel, sports gear that maybe you like one particular one more than the other, but probably won't really change that much over time. But your feelings towards maybe the IRFU, the Irish rugby team, or the Irish soccer team might change depending on how the results are going. You might be more attracted to buy clothing with one of these crests on it, depending on how well they're doing. So it's a bit different compared to other different brands. When marketing a sports brand, imagery and performance are two of the key brand building blocks. So if we have a team that is performing poorly, people are less likely to go out and to buy um, jersey or shorts or whatever it is with that crest on it. Crucial components of imagery are the subdimensions of history, heritage, and experiences. So a team could have a crest um, that's been there for 200 years, and if a marketing company came in and changed that crest completely, then that's going to affect how the people respond to the brand itself. It's going to impact if they buy the product or not. It's most likely going to have a negative connotation if they make a huge change to something like the brand or the crest. While many of the same branding principles apply to sports brands as they do to other brands, the unique attributes of sports products require careful brand strategy attention. Supporters of sport teams are often likely to disapprove of and reject the thought of their favourite sports club, for example, as a brand. So, say supporters of Dublin GAA or supporters of Shamrock Rovers or whatever team that you support, if people are out calling that club or the sport that you enjoy, they're always referring to it as a brand, you're not going to take to that well, okay? So you still see it as a sports club. Even though it is a business, you see it as the sports team. In the main, supporters do not like to think of their club being sullied by commercialism. Many are appalled at the thought of their club and all it represents being reduced to no more than a brand. So people often like the history behind the club, and maybe the way things are done behind the scenes. And if somebody is coming in and saying that, oh, the club is a brand, we want to make as much money as possible, then that's not going to go down well. The high level of identification that supporters have with their team makes them more sensitive to the over-commercialization of something they have a unique emotional bond with. In this context, branding in sports marketing domain requires careful consideration. It is wrong to assume that branding is something that is done to customers. So consumers are not just passive receivers of marketing information, they are active in the production of meaning and do things with marketing messages. In that sense, consumers become co-creators of the brand's messages and meanings. So this is often why we would see focus groups involved when it comes to rebranding or development of particular types of clothing or different ranges. So typically, if a team were going to come out with a new set of jerseys, they would get people involved, maybe from a club and a focus group of that club and see how would they react to this new design. Um, so oftentimes what the marketing teams will design is from feedback from the consumers themselves. This process of collaboration between marketing teams and between consumers, it's not unique to the sports industry, but it's probably more evident there. In the sports marketing domain, the consumer is very often involved in creating the product, hence they become prosumers of the sporting experience. And this will apply to all categories of the sports consumer. There are two areas where sports marketers focus on. These are the core product offering and product extensions. So the core product offering are these unique things to that team or to that organization. It consists of the players and coaches, the venue of where the game is played, what sort of equipment is used, the rules of the game. So these are going to be unique to each sport. And then the players and venue, coaches is obviously going to be unique to that organization within the sport. Product extensions then can include the likes of branded merchandise, food, beverages, matchday program, social media, executive hospitality, player access, or anything that may help extend the experience of the fans. Product extensions may enhance the symbolic and experiential benefits supporters receive from their interaction with the sports organisation. So if you have supporters going to a football stadium, they're all wearing the same jersey, same colours. There's that feeling of identification, number one, with the players who are playing on the pitch. Number two, also with the community involved, other people that are going to the game. And it's about creating those relationships as well. On this slide are a list of the core product and product extensions that we see in sports. So each of these things could be marketed by a marketing team. So our likes of our logos, different colours, mascots that are involved. These can be brought into selling clothing or selling anything really. You'd see lots of stuff these days that are sold with a logo on it, whether it's bottle openers or cups or whatever it is. The players and coaches themselves are essentially products, so you can use their images to promote certain things to increase sales. An entertainment package, so you can product go into this performance as an entertainment package. You go to a game, you get food, maybe you have drinks, um, maybe you pay extra for a premium level, and you get that experience. The success of the team then is going to be huge. So if a team is successful, the marketing teams are really going to use that to their benefit. Um, Rivalries, so there could be local clubs that have a rivalry between them, and that is something that they will try and make to their advantage. The stadium again, that's linked into the entertainment package. Also, the stadium then is in terms of naming rights, maybe that could be sold as something to companies for sponsorship. Likewise, pitch side sponsorship that we'd see on boardings. The owner then could be something that might be linked in depending on the sport that's involved. Also then traditions, so traditions of maybe going to games together, traditions of the club that could be brought up in marketing campaigns. One of the key goals of sports branding is to create and nurture such a strong impression in the consumer's minds that when they see or hear something that includes a brand's names, mark, or colours, they experience intense positive feelings. And when this happens, the company has realised its brand equity. So we're going to go into now what is brand equity and what contributes to it. What contributes to brand equity in sports and what's the relationship look like? The first one is increased fan loyalty. So how loyal a fan is to a certain sports organisation can depend on a number of things. Could depend on their location, could depend on their age. So say for example, if we have a person in Ireland and they are supporting an English soccer team. Okay, so perhaps someone that is born in Manchester is going to have a higher affiliation uh, with Manchester United than a person living in Dublin. Um, so when that child is at a younger age, maybe they're more susceptible to choosing another team over Man United. But people that are born in Manchester are more likely to follow Man United. And this will change based on location, based on the environment as well. Um, what we see in Ireland with GAA is generally that whatever county you're born in, you'll support that team. It's not like you support a team at the other side of the country. Um, so less drastic revenue declines when a team loses. So again, just using the example of Manchester United, so they have such a big brand equity that even in the recent years where they mightn't have done so well, um, they still have huge revenues from people buying their merchandise because they have that brand equity in the market. This also allows you to charge premiums. So again, you mightn't be doing the best on the pitch, but if you have that whole experience that you can sell, the ability to go and see big stars, um, you have that experience of going to games and getting in food, having drinks, meeting up with people, um, cheering your team on. So that can allow you to charge these premiums. When there's more corporate interest, again, that's going to drive up sponsorship and funding that's available, and also licensing and merchandising opportunities. So, um, whether that's bringing the sport abroad, showing it on a larger scale, um, bringing it to a larger audience. The image on this slide shows us the paths to identification with a sports brand. There's 5 different areas: star power, family, socialization, community, and participation. So I'm going to go through each of these now individually over the next few slides. The first of the paths to identification with a sports brand is star power. Star power is a fan connection point that is largely under the control of the marketing teams. And the most obvious form of star power is players or athletes or even high profile coaches. However, other sources of star power can be tapped into, including former players, former coaches, um, executives that might be involved, like some mascots that are there. So these are all areas that they can use to promote the brand. An organization should recognize the star power it possesses as marketing assets and incorporate star power into marketing campaigns. So you will see like a lot of um, particularly soccer clubs will have ex-players involved, whether it's on match days, giving talks beforehand, trying to get people into the ground earlier, having them on at half time, doing tours of the stadium. So this is something that we'd see a lot of. Family may have the strongest influence when it comes to impacting on someone's identification with a sports brand. And research has shown that fathers have the greatest impact. So if a father supports a certain team or follows a certain organization, then the child is more likely to follow that team as well. Um, it's an important in fan identification as it often starts at an early age. I suppose the earlier um, marketing companies can get um, fans engaged into the sport, and the more likely they're going to spend more money over their lifetime. The socialization path to identification with a sports brand is based on the influence of other people. So while we saw that family has an impact, particularly fathers, um, equally um, social groups can have an influence. So if young kids are in school and depending on what teams they follow, some of the younger kids, other kids might be inspired by these other children to take up an interest either in that sport or in a particular team. It's sort of a social currency, so people can have a chat about it. Um, People are going to tease other people about how their team are getting on, and it's all about this desire to be part of a group. So people want to have an affinity towards certain individuals. They want to get on with other people, so they're more likely to get involved in following the sport, so they're not left out of these conversations. Community is another avenue for identification. I mentioned earlier about people growing up in Manchester and the possibility of them supporting Manchester United. So that comes down to the geographical location of where they're based. Pride comes into it as well. So the depending on what country you're from, if you're living in Ireland, you're from Ireland, you're more than likely going to support the Irish rugby team, the Irish soccer team, Irish hockey, whatever sport you're involved in. And there's a sense of pride that comes along with that, supporting your country. Also, in terms of the community, it can attract low investment individuals. So, if, say, for example, Shamrock Rovers, who are based here in Tallaght, um, people that live around the local area, so these would be seen as low involvement individuals. So, if a marketing company was coming here and trying to sell tickets to Shamrock Rovers games, um, it would be easier to target these individuals because they're already in the community and they may have some sort of affiliation to the club. So it's going to be easier to target these and rather than targeting people in Galway to come and watch Shamrock Rovers. Participation is a major path for fan identification with sport. So if people are playing sports, they're more than likely going to um, enjoy watching that sport. They're more likely going to have greater knowledge of the sport and want to find out more about the sport. When we look at youth sport programs, they're valuable for connecting people via participation. And not only are the youth potentially drawn to sports through participation, but also people that bring them to the sport, their parents, other family members that they could be watching, they go to games, and they may become fans as well. We're going to focus now on a case study, and this is of Pele Sports, and it's about the development of a sports brand. Of course, Pele is one of the most famous soccer players of all time from Brazil, so it's about building on his legacy, and that's where the brand came from. So Pele is a soccer brand that represents what Pele gave to the world, football bonito, which is the beautiful game. The Pele brand symbolizes football bonito, a love of the game that can be expressed anytime, anywhere by anybody. Football bonito is a style of play, free-flowing and joyful, as well as a way of life. So this is sort of the mission statement behind Pele Sports, the values that they represent, and some of the areas that they're trying to target. The sports apparel and equipment industry is dominated by major organizations like Adidas, Nike, Reebok, and Puma. So how can this brand tell the consumer that football bonito story as it relates to soccer boots? And how can the brand be transformed from another soccer brand to one that truly represents what Pele gave to the world? So we're going to look at some of the strategies that they put in place to get around these issues. Athletes are increasingly using sports science in their game, from the latest nutrition and training techniques to equipment that maximizes performance and safety. These are all things that we're well aware of. This level of knowledge and access to technology causes tension with what the Pele brand represents, which symbolizes a free-flowing, joyful style of play. So we've seen that in his mission statement. And the Pele brand answer to resolve this is play free. So that's one of their mottos, is play free. So to get this play free message about, there was various marketing activities that were designed. One of these was the Pele Sports Street Soccer Challenge. So in this, 12 to 17-year-old boys and girls in the disadvantaged areas of Irish and other countries in the cities given a chance to show off their soccer skills and become king of the street. The purpose of this campaign was to give back to the game and to the kids who are playing street football as Pele did, to inspire the current generation with the spirit and legacy of Pele. So they're targeting people that are in disadvantaged areas, they're targeting groups, 12 to 17-year-olds, which we know wouldn't have as good participation levels in community sport as primary school level children. So they're targeting these people. They want to bring this free flowing football, they want it on the streets to be a bit raw, and that's probably why they're targeting these areas, because that's the sort of environment that Pele would have grown up in without all the flashiness, no sports science. So through this initiative, the kids got to meet various soccer stars, to receive t-shirts, and the winners received head-to-toe Pele gear. Okay, so they got the gear of Pele Sports, They would have had to make videos of their skills and share that to win in the competition. Also, they're giving out these free T-shirts, so again, raising the brand awareness of Pele Sports. Another campaign that Pele Sports ran was geo-target enabled soccer balls. So these balls were distributed around the world. The balls fed information to a website where followers can view stats on the ball and which country it's in, including a kick counter, GPS location, and more. The idea was to increase the amount of people playing soccer worldwide while developing brand awareness. So um, these children were given the footballs. They wanted the children to go out and play the football, play with it, get some information about it, try and get some bit of competition going with the likes of the stats that were on it. Um, and also, again, it's about raising awareness of Pele Sports, the brand. Recipients of the ball were encouraged to play with it, track it, and share it with another person. In this manner, the ball begins to travel from city to city and country to country. Um, so the idea behind it was to try and raise awareness by sharing the ball, sharing the love of the game. Um, how well this went, I'm not entirely sure. I know a lot of children who wouldn't be happy to give away a ball after receiving it. An intensive PR campaign utilising the press and social media were all were all designed to communicate this play-free mindset. So again, it's all about playing without restraints, playing on the streets, trying to bring it back to Pele's roots. Another campaign that Pele Sports ran was a futsal competition. So futsal is similar to indoor soccer. It's just played with a heavier ball. It's more technique based and about skills. So sort of like the street football that the Pele Sports campaign was looking at. So the competitions were called Pele Sports Cup or whatever, depending on the country they're involved in. So what happened to Pele Sports? It's no longer in operation. Okay. So why were their campaigns unsuccessful? That's probably a question you guys have to answer. Um, is it due to the fact that they're competing with a lot larger organizations, the likes of Puma, Adidas, Reebok, Nike? These are all well-established brands that are maybe a bit more diverse. So was it just too difficult to break into this market? Um, has that campaign that they ran, they were trying to um, strip everything back. They wanted to be all about um, street football, no sports science. Is that something that people want nowadays? Maybe not. Maybe people are more interested in a more modern approach. Maybe they're more interested in getting data and all of this information. So there's a number of possibilities of why it didn't work. We're going to briefly look at logos now. So sports brands have to balance the need for sponsorship revenue with managing their own brand equity in the context of giving prominence to the sponsor's logo. So the sponsor's logo appearing on the jersey beside the actual team's logo. And while this is a point of consideration for all communication points, it is particularly pertinent when it comes to the jersey and the sponsor's logo appearing with the sports brand logo, okay? Because sports consumers aren't going to want to have a huge sponsor's logo on the jersey and then their logo, the logo of the team they support, is going to be very small because um, it can take away from that. Research has shown that an increase in the number of sponsor logos on a team shirt results in a negative attitudes among sports consumers. It results in slightly lower levels of shirt purchase intention and results in lower brand recall. So these are all measures used in marketing, um, and it has a negative effect on a number of different areas. So people are less likely um, to like the shirt, they are less likely to purchase it, and then they're less likely going to remember what it is. So if they see a jersey and there's lots of logos on it, they might remember what team that represents. So the images we see here is a comparison between Munster rugby jersey and Connacht rugby jersey. If you take a moment to look at the different logos on each jersey, so on the Munster one we have an Adidas sign, we have the Munster crest, and then a Bank of Ireland, who are the main sponsor. It's produced by Adidas. So it's simple enough, and there's not a whole lot going on. Then if you compare this to the Connacht jersey, um, here we have one, two, three, four different sponsors on the jersey. We have the Connacht Rugby name, and then um, BLK, who made the jersey. So there's a lot going on here. It probably takes away a bit from the Connacht crest. Um, it might impair the recall. So if someone sees this jersey and they're not familiar that much with with rugby, they mightn't be able to recall this jersey. While if they see the Munster jersey, they're more likely going to be able to recall this because there's a lot less going on. So we're just going to take a quick look case study of the All Blacks New Zealand rugby team. In 2016, for the first time since 1999, the All Black jersey added a sponsor's name other than Adidas on the jersey. AIG has signed a deal with New Zealand Rugby for 5.5 years to support rugby from the community level to the All Blacks. So here are the images of the All Blacks jersey. The one on the right hand side is prior to 2016, so we see that there's no sponsorship logo on it other than the maker of the jersey, which is Adidas. And then we have the one post 2016 with the AIG sign on it. Okay, so it's just AIG in text. It's not overly complicated. It probably doesn't detract away too much from the Adidas or the All Black sign. And my own personal preference is it looks a bit better with it on it. So it's not having a negative impact on the jersey. On the addition of the AIG sponsorship, we just have some quotes that I want to go through and pick up on a few things. So, according to the New Zealand Rugby Union Chief Executive Steve Chu, said we are adding the AIG logo to the black jersey in addition to that of Adidas, which has appeared since 1999. However, this is not a decision we have taken lightly. Like all New Zealanders, we appreciate the rich and proud heritage of the black jersey, which is why the New Zealand Rugby Union consulted with senior players and others as we carefully weighed up this latest move. So I suppose they've approached this the right way. They are identifying that they know people, we know people don't like change when it comes to branding of jerseys. So that's something that they've taken into account. They've also asked the players to get involved with it. So that takes us back to what we were talking about earlier with the prosumers. So people that are involved in the process, these are going to be guys that are wearing the jerseys. They're getting an impact on it. They've also asked other people. So perhaps this is um, supporters of the All Blacks, people that maybe aren't fans, or maybe they could be former players, so getting their input on it as well. Continuing on from the quote, he says, on balance, it is a very positive opportunity to secure the additional funds that we need to help safeguard the future of the game in this country. So I suppose they're trying to appeal here to the emotions of the population. They're saying, yes, we are changing, we're adding in this sponsorship to the jersey, but it's for the betterment of rugby in the country, and they're trying to um, say that they're going to invest this money for the future of the game. So it's probably aiming for the emotions of supporters there. And interestingly, the AIG logo on the All Blacks jersey is just under 1/3 the size of the maximum allowed under International Rugby Board guidelines, um, in consideration of the historical significance of that jersey. So if they wanted to, they could have made the AIG symbol 3 times more, but they didn't want to take away from that historical aspect of the jersey.